to Daydreaming in the Garden. I am your host, Pork Chop. And if you are new here, let me explain who I am and what we do here. I am a trauma survivor, healing advocate, and mental wellness creator. And here at Daydreaming in the Garden, we cover those hard to talk about topics and those not so easy to swallow situations. We cover trending topics and we deep dive into trauma and how it affects our mind, body, and soul. And on today's topic, I actually had a script for the Netflix documentary that came out on Tiffany Smith and Piper Rockelle, the Bad Influencing documentary. And the script was too long, so I actually was like, I was going to ditch it and just do a complete commentary style documentary episode on it. But what has come to light within the last couple of minutes really just made me decide that I was just going to go off the dome with this and just really talk to y'all. Because for one, if you haven't seen the documentary, let me break that down to y'all. Piper Rockelle is a YouTube sensation who, at the tender age of 3, started doing beauty pageants. That escalated to Musically, and then she ended up on YouTube from there. Now, of course, she probably has a TikTok and all of the other suches, but the real scandal here was her mother, who took the front pages out of both Kris Jenner and Dan Schneider's playbooks, and not only became the worst momager that ever exists and sexually exploited her child for her age and gender, but also was sexually exploiting the other kids within this Piper, what did they call it? The Piperazzi empire. And there were 11 kids that came out and decided that they sued her actually, and she settled last year in I think like October or something for about $1.85 million. So, and she ended up having to settle for all types of allegations that were absolutely horrendous. The documentary itself was actually very uncomfortable to watch because it started taking a dark turn, and most of the kids and even the parents were talking about how Miss Tiffany Smith was verbally and mentally abusive and assaulting these kids on multiple occasions for years, and to the point where some of the parents just got so fed up with it that they were just pulling their kids out of the squad entirely. And when they would do this, this is when their careers would tank. So Miss Tiffany really is a winner. Now, on top of all that, the documentary goes into how she actually kissed the 17-year-old boy on the live stream. And the kids go on to express how terrified they were to say anything to anyone, and that a lot of the parents didn't know, so they claim. Now, mind you, there are a few of the parents that get on there and say that the videos got questionable, but they kind of just let it go because it's not that bad. And I just really don't understand how parents try to justify things like that. But then I had to come to the conclusion that, like, even one of the psychologists in the documentary said is that to have to understand and accept that you put your child in harm's way and you actually justify putting your child in harm's way is a lot to have to deal with. So in a sense, I could see people being like, well, you know, it's not that bad. And another thing about the whole situation is I want to talk about how key influencers end up in this parentification. And mind you, this is something I've talked about in one of my other episodes. I will link it down below if you would like to see it. But this is basically where the child takes on the role of the adult. And in any situation where a child is making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, they are the breadwinner. They have their parents on their payroll, basically. And so I just really think that that in itself is a very dangerous situation to put your child in for these reasons in itself. And the documentary was absolutely horrendous because the kids went on to tell about how this lady was basically like running around with her pants down, chasing them. They locking themselves in bathrooms to get away from her. She, like I said, kissed a one of the squad members, a 17-year-old boy on live. And it was to the point where I just didn't know what to say. It was an insane documentary. A lot of the people were saying how she showed a lot of narcissistic behavioral traits, and she would do things like when she didn't get her way, she would spaz out, or she would like go to calling you all types of names. The kids were even admitted, and they have a recording on the documentary about how this lady was calling these kids ungrateful little So mind you, like, and I just, it's insane. So mind you, I watched this documentary 5 or 6 times because I was getting ready to do a actual episode, a commentary episode on it, and I ditched the documentary because it needed to be shorter. But now that we're here, I was watching a YouTube video just chilling before waiting on the store to open so I could go get me another microphone because as you can see, like, as you can hear, my microphone isn't like I gotta get a microphone because I'm talking to y'all through the actual recording device. So it's crazy right now. But I was watching a YouTube documentary by RKH Media on the Bophouse, and lo and freaking behold, y'all, I'm listening to the documentary and Piper Rockelle's name comes up. Mind you, within the Netflix documentary, they tell you that she is on Brand Army, which is basically an OnlyFans, but they don't allow nudity. So basically, and it's weird because I want to say that the app itself, you can be like 13 to have to sell content on the app, but you can only be 18 to buy the content. So they are like providing exclusive minor content to adults, and that was wild in itself. So I kind of honestly, at the end of the script that I had written, I said that this was probably gonna happen, and lo and behold, it happened. So Piper Rockelle has associations to the Bophouse now. I don't know what's going on with the situation, but she is at the Bophouse, and I'll let y'all sit with that for a second, and I'm gonna go. I'll be back. I gotta make some more tea. Now, mind you, if you don't know what the Bophouse is basically a sex ring run by some lady named Camilla, I'm assuming. Now, mind you, this is all me just finding all this out right now, so please don't come for me in the comments because I don't know what's going on, but I do know that I had to go ahead and say something because this is insane. Now, mind you, I was just about to do a script on this little girl, and the little girl turns 18 in August of this year, y'all. She just turned 17 in August, and she is at this OnlyFans content house. The Bophouse is the OnlyFans content house that doesn't have anyone in it. It's about 6 or 7 girls at all time, and it doesn't have anyone in it over the age of like 20, 21, other than the founder of the house. And mind you, it's wild. It's wild because then I found out that there's like a bruh's house, and this is a house where basically there's boys doing this too, and I'm old, y'all. I am 29 years old. I will be 30 in June. I am kind of lost. Now, mind you, this isn't nothing new. This is nothing more than a brothel. It's just a brothel. It's nothing more than that, and I'll give it that. But the thing with brothels is that brothels have grown consenting women in them, not 17-year-old women who have been like manipulated and brainwashed by their mothers. Mind you, within the documentary, even one of the friends on there tells the documentary people that Piper had already told them years ago that she no longer even wanted to do content, that she wanted to move back to Georgia and have a life of her own. So for her to be at the Bophouse now is absolutely insane. There was also discussions about how when Piper would tell her mom these kind of things, they would go on these rides, and when they would go on these rides, Piper would come back and just go and isolate herself in her room. Or there were days where they couldn't even shoot content because Piper couldn't do nothing but cry, y'all. This little girl she needs help. And I know we say that like, oh, she's consenting, she wants to do it, she is of age to consent to this, and technically yes, in most states she is of age of consent. The age of consent is as low as 15 or 16 in most states. It's actually not as high as it should be. But my thing with that is I don't think it's legal for minors to be in porn, regardless how consenting the age is, right? Like, now mind you, I have been in the sex industry. Let me quit putting this on my book. I feel like I'm so just disrespecting my book. We're going to talk about this book one of these days. I have been meaning to talk to y'all about this for a while now. But anyway, so I have been in the entertainment industry for quite a while. Within all parts of it, I have not done porn, but I have experienced quite a few corners of the entertainment world. So I do at around Piper Rockelle's age is when I experienced it, and that's how I know that this is a survival method. This girl is not out here genuinely, truly making these decisions, and she never has been. They started the documentary out by saying at the age of 3 she was already winning beauty pageants. So we have to remember that she has always been in the spotlight her entire life. She has like 12 million followers on YouTube, which has been demonetized due to the allegations and the lawsuit with Tiffany Smith, of course. But she is, I'm sure, making money off of TikTok. Maybe, I don't know. I have done zero research on any of this other than Googling a couple of facts on Tiffany Smith within the lawsuit and the allegations that she was involved in. So I don't have a lot of information on this little girl or her mama, but I do know that her name keep popping up everywhere, y'all, and it was already to a point where it was concerning. It's been concerning for a while, and I just found out about this girl when the Netflix documentary came out like last week. I am And the thing about the whole situation that really makes it so touching and aggravating to me is the fact that y'all gotta remember this is something that I genuinely advocate against because I am someone who has lived through all of this. I actually have a script saved in my phone that I'm going to do on my experience as an sexually trafficked teenager. So I genuinely relate to this, and it wasn't because my mom was making me do it, but it was because I was in survival mode and I had to survive, and I was making decisions based on that and that alone. So we cannot say that kids at that age are consenting because they don't know what they are doing. As I said in one of my previous episodes, and I will link the description, I will link it in the description, but we talked about how the brain isn't even fully developed until the age of 25. So honestly, and I'm not saying that kid, like, you shouldn't be able to consent to sex to 25. What I'm saying is that if the brain is not fully developed until the age of 25, you aren't actually making conscious, wise decisions when you are in that type of lifestyle. Your brain has already been altered and you have already been brainwashed into thinking that this was the right way to go. Her body has been making her living for her and her mother for quite a while. Her mother and her mother's fucking age gap boyfriend have been on her payroll since she was like 10. So it's insane to think that we can sit here and try to justify everything that's going on with that little girl and sweep it under the rug just by saying, oh, she wants to do it. She absolutely, I promise you she probably doesn't. I promise you she probably doesn't. And even if she tells you she does, at this point, the brainwashing and conditioning is so deep and instilled in her that you can't make any sense of that. It's absolutely insane that I was sitting here watching this random documentary and this little girl's name done popped up in this documentary. And even on the documentary, on the YouTube documentary I'm watching, they do an interview with the founder of the Bophouse and ask her, like, isn't she like 17? And she just swept it under the rug because it didn't matter to her because she is pimping. She pimping real hard. They had a whole video on there about how they made like 10 million in December. And mind you, these can be inflated numbers, but we are talking about young girls. None of these girls are even old enough to drink in this house. None of them. The Camilla girl don't even look old enough to drink. I don't even know if that's their girl name. What I do know is that this is insane. We have to start protecting these kids, and I really don't even understand how like CPS or DHR or something has not been like intervened into this situation because it is obvious that she is selling her daughter. And I am just now I'm still lost for words, but as we go into the document, as I go deeper into this Piper Rockelle, Tiffany Smith rabbit hole, I find a response from Piper Rockelle and a couple of the other people after she pops up at the Bophouse and on the Bophouse content. And now, mind you, the controversy here with the Bophouse is quite a few things. So let me go ahead and break all that down for you real quick before we start. Now, the controversy with the Bophouse is not that it's a house full of OnlyFans content creators. No one really cares that they're online OnlyFans content creators. What we care about is not only the fact that this 17-year-old girl done popped up over here, but the fact that most of these kids are barely legal. These are still children. They can't even drink. And And yes, they are legal. They are illegal of consenting legal age. But the problem with it is the fact that they are glamorizing and glorifying this lifestyle and actually basically making recruitment videos. Like, these videos are recruitment videos. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, they are having a good time as 6 or 7 young females making a lot of money in these big houses. But these are still recruitment videos. Do not think they are not. As someone who has seen all corners of the adult industry, do not think that these are not recruitment videos. And if they are not, they are. I'm not saying they are trying to actively recruit them to the house with them. All right. So now, mind you, before Piper went on the Bophouse and did the content, she only had about 3 million followers. The response she did wasn't really a response to the Bophouse controversy. It was actually just a milestone response to her reaching 12 or 13 million followers because the Bophouse started peddling their followers to her account.
13 million. Every day I wake up and open my eyes. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm a very grateful person. Believe it or not, I'm grateful for the food I eat, the clothes I get to wear, the roof over my head, everything that I'm able to post videos, my family. Trust. I'm a grateful person. And I know that all of this can be taken away from me so quickly and not everybody's going to want to see me forever. I understand that. So I'm just living in the moment and I'm proud of you guys because this was all you. This wasn't me. This was you. And I'm proud of you. I also want to talk about the Joy situation. I never thought that she would actually leave the Bophouse. Obviously, if I could see into the future and I knew this was going to happen, I would have stayed in my lane. But I've had a group before, and usually when people leave and come back, the bond is always stronger, so don't fear. I feel everything will be okay because I know those girls have each other's back. I feel distance always grows love fonder. With all that being said, I'm sorry, Joy, and I love you, Sophie. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. And then, apparently, as the controversy goes on and went out, everybody started finding out about her Brand Army account, which we was talking about earlier, which has apparently now been deleted. But there are still some screenshots going around because it is the internet. So this is one that I have pulled off of one of the YouTube videos that I was watching earlier from RKH Media. Congrats on joining Piper Platinum Plus. You will receive 1 free full set the first of every month. A free set of your choice to unlock on your birthday, free DMs, free access to live streams, priority customs, free BTS, and biggest discount access to unlock all photos. Now, mind you, I didn't know what BTS was, so I'm gonna Google it and we're gonna see what pops up. Behind the scenes, I'm sure somebody could have told me that. Y'all could have told me that. We knew that. Alright, so now mind you, we know that Piper's mom, is the one that made this account. She is the one that manages Piper. She controls all of her social media accounts. And even in the documentary that I was watching on Netflix, the behind the scenes or the bad influence documentary, the kids were even saying that after they would leave the squad, that their accounts would just be massively flooded with hate comments, and they knew that some of the hate comments were coming from fan accounts run by Miss Tiffany Smith. There was also allegations about how when they would leave the squad, a lot of their accounts would just start tanking immediately. And mind you, they do tell you on the documentary that Tiffany was buying bots in some of the store. So in my mind, because a lot of the parents were saying that like they hadn't even told their followers or made a post or a video about leaving the squad before they viewers and they pages will start tanking. So in my mind, what I was thinking was not only would this be Tiffany with the bots mass unfollowing and her not paying for the views anymore, but it would also probably be her having like paid accounts that would be following, interacting, and engaging, I'm sure, or just a whole bunch of fake accounts that she had. you know, like, it's plenty of ways to go about it. There was so much in the documentary to dissect, and that was the reason that it was, the documentary script that I had was so long. But I think that this is a lot better, and it was off the fly, and my coffee is kicking in, so it was just a great time to go ahead and start. And they were even saying how that some of the kids can't even monetize most of the videos on their platforms because their videos have been found, directed, and linked to porn sites and linked to gambling sites and stuff like that. And if you don't know, with YouTube, if your name becomes linked to stuff like this, then you cannot make money off of that, because YouTube does not want to be associated with anything that will slander or tarnish not only the name but the platform within itself. And they don't be associated with stuff like that anyway. Have you noticed that's why you don't see stuff like that on YouTube? So, yeah, it's really a lot going on within the Piper Rockelle world. And it is a perfect example of how people are making their kids commodities for their entire lives. Like, we have to remember that Piper Rockelle is a victim. She is not consensually doing this. Just because her mouth is saying it doesn't mean that is exactly what's happening. She is held hostage. She is being brainwashed. And in a sense, low-key, she's probably just in like this own little small, close-knit cult of her own with her mom. I don't know if her mom's still with Hunter, but hell, he was just, it's all bad. It's all bad, and I just really find so much sympathy and empathy for Piper and kids like her, because I was a kid like her. Granted, it wasn't my own mom pimping me out, but I was definitely there. Now, y'all, woo, Lord. Now, I'm not gonna keep ranting about this, because at this point I'm just like, all right, you know, like, it's a lot going on, and I'm just kind of like, it's wow. It really is. And as I've said, I am someone who wholeheartedly believes that the age of consent, and there should be more protections, not only for these kid influencers, because the video goes on to basically say how the kids were working extreme hours. They were going to sleep for 2 or 3 hours a day because they had to get up to go to school, and then would be filming for 10, 12 hours a day. And I just feel like there should be more laws implemented. Yes, there are a couple of states who are trying to implement laws, but how do you really regulate kids that are supposed to be in the safety of their own home being filmed in their bedroom or in their backyard? Now, I do not advocate for child actors, as I'm against child acting as well for the same reasons, because as we've seen on the Nickelodeon documentaries, that the entertainment industry ain't no diddly about it. No one is safe. Tried to keep a straight face. I'm sorry. Anyway, no one is safe. No one is safe from the cruel world of the industry and the abuse that goes on behind the scenes of these industries. These are kids, and we have to remember that every video you watch of these kid influencers, every thumbnail you see that is perfectly polished and pressed to perfection, every video that you watch that has the lighting perfectly and the kids are so well maintained, scripted out, and everything is perfectly in order within these skits, remember that these are skits. These are not these kids' real lives. These kids are being made to do this, and even though you have some kids who aspire to do this, there is point in times where we have to remember that this is not what they want. Imagine your whole life being filmed in front of an audience. Look at all the child actors who grow up to be insanely mentally ill, and they need a lot of help that a lot of them usually don't end up getting. The Olsen twins like completely sheltered themselves and made an entire $1 billion brand that they are not even the face of, because they no longer want to even be known. It is absolutely sad to see these kids go through things like this, and so we watch them grow up in this spotlight and watch it play out as it does every time. And this is the same fate that sadly I do know that the Ren little girl on TikTok will end up going through. I think it's Ren Eleanor, I believe, on TikTok, and her mom is taking the same playbook that Tiffany Smith has, the same playbook that even Kris Jenner has. It is something that has been going on within the industry with these little girls for years and years and years. And we have to stop sexualizing these kids and to monetize them. We have to stop sexualizing these kids and taking their childhood away from them in an attempt to, I guess, build a foundation for a future for them, which is always kind of the justification. But I don't understand that when at the same time, why couldn't you go be the actor? Just like with Tiffany Smith, her page is private and she's barely on camera, but your daughter's life is viewed for millions to see every second of every day, 24/7. You have her walking around in skimpy outfits with bikinis on, and you really choose to believe that this is something that a 17-year-old child has been consenting to since the age of 3. We have to remember in context that consent is really such a fragile word to use. And by definition, the only definition that consent has to it from the Oxford Dictionary is permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. Just because you are agreeing to do something doesn't mean you want to do it. And just because you want to do it doesn't mean that you genuinely have not been conditioned to do it. If you have been doing beauty pageants since the age of 3, if you have been traumatized, sexualized, and glorified for your body since as little as you can remember, how are you genuinely consenting to these things at such young ages? And remember, your brain is not even fully developed. I find it insane and scary that Tiffany Smith did not become locked up for not only maybe even sexually trafficking, but all of the allegations that she went through in a whole. And it takes on, what are you doing? It takes on the question of why do they keep getting away with it? Why do we keep continuing to turn on the television sets and see time and time again where these kids or these child actors and entertainers are being abused, manipulated, and taken care of? Why does it seem that this industry cannot function without there being some level of abuse, manipulation, and downright power control being played out in every form of textbook context? It's insane and very vile, and it makes me sick to my stomach to think about the things that Piper Rockelle is already enduring. Because within the documentary, they tell you that her mother was consenting and actually mailing out this girl's underwear to men. And she was no older than 9 or 10. They tell you within the documentary about how she was enabling and allowing her daughter to talk to a man that she knew was a pervert and was her #1 fan and stalker. And she said this to her friend. Tiffany Smith is no different than any other child entertainer, parents, or manager out there. And the parents of the squad are not to blame. Everyone in this situation is a victim other than Tiffany, the culprit. Everyone in this situation was manipulated and abused, and the Bophouse is only adding gas fire to the flame that makes that industry such a vile and disgusting one. Mind you, I am someone who is all about woman empowerment and feminine and beauty, but I am also someone who believes that these things are situations that should be made by consensual adults, not 17-year-old kids who have been molded by their mother for this exact very moment their entire lives. It's really scary to think about what Tiffany Smith will have Piper Rockelle doing for her 18th birthday this upcoming August. And it's so concerning to the point where even Tiffany Smith has had to delete the Brand Army account in an attempt to keep all of the world from trying to get Piper away from her. And sadly enough, Piper Rockelle is so brainwashed, conditioned, and manipulated by her mother to a point where this is probably her fate for the rest of her life. And who knows what will happen when Tiffany decides that she is no longer valuable to her or the internet. It's stories like these and many others that make us take into account of how blessed we are to understand that this is vile, this is not right, and we can be the change that we need to see. I'm not sure how to get Piper out of this situation, and I really have no clue what her future might hold, but I'm sure it is going to be, it had her past and her future has been and will be full of dark secrets that she will probably suppress and take to her grave. There's times on the documentary where they say that Piper would just sit in her room and cry, and they couldn't even film that day because of how depressed and sad, and she would isolate herself in her room. It's insane to think that to this day, nothing has been done about the situation, not only with Piper, but with the rest of the squad or any other child entertainer and their managers or parents that they want to call themselves. Let's take this time to reflect on these situations, and every time you see a video of a kid influencer or a young teenage girl making a video, and you look through those comments and realize that most of the people that are watching them are usually older men. There was a statistic that was made out of Australia that they shared within the Netflix documentary about how 66% of the content that is found on registered PDF files, computers, or people alike them, is downloaded from the internet. There's a whole funnel of people that sit around and take your kids' photos and talk about them in the most vile and dehumanizing I lost it. Dehumanizing ways. This is not a funny situation, but y'all know I try to make light of anything. And it's scary because they had one influencer that they were looking at who was no older than 16 or 17, and 96% of her following were men. Older men. There are men who get on these accounts and they pose as little girls, and they follow these accounts and they fetishize on these children. Keep your kids safe. They also go into how, like, Tiffany was doing deep fakes, I think, of the kids for corn. And if you don't know what a deep fake is, it is basically when you use those AI technologies to put their head on other people's bodies to make it look like they're performing inexplicit acts, or pictures to make it look like that they are naked or doing. It's basically just really, 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 really good Photoshop on a whole nother level of scary. It's basically what it is. And it's scary to think that some of these kids' pictures end up on deep fakes videos of them doing inexplicit acts. That a lot of this is just things that these child entertainer parents are putting their kids in very dangerous situations, and some of them are even feeding into these dangerous situations knowingly, because hey, we got to keep the checks coming in, right? As a parent, I couldn't just pull it up by my bootstraps and go get it together, correct? As a mother of a 4-year-old child, I could never in my life put myself in a situation to where I would think it would be okay to let my daughter become an influencer at such a young age. I don't even really want her to have a social media account until she's 16. Although she does have an iPhone that she looks at for YouTube and stuff like that, I even try my best to monitor that. Because this is a scary, scary world, and the internet is not regulated in any way whatsoever. And there are a lot of people that can just make websites and make apps that foster these communities. As I said, and I'm going to leave on this note, so as the Piper Rockelle situation comes to a halt and we wait to see what's going to happen, it leaves us with more questions than answers. We start to ask ourselves, what happens when parental guidance becomes profit margins? What happens when childhoods become content? What happens when we leave these kids in the hands of people who mean them no good and have not even their best interests at heart, when they're raised by managers instead of moms, and their memories are made into 10-second bits that can be seen at forever? Their mistakes are plastered on the TVs of millions to watch for forever and a day, and it is a never-ending world of content, views, likes, and monetization. Piper Rockelle's story isn't a story about one child. It is a story about a system, a culture that is breeding and fostering not only toxic childhood upbringings, but I lost it. Toxic childhood upbringings, but a PDF file culture and community that will feed on these images and that they are feeding to them. It is a culture that rewards sexual manipulation of minors with monetization checks and big houses and fancy cars. It is a culture that is genuinely pushing the limits of what is acceptable within these apps and within these children's lives. We are watching an entire movement play out in real time, and the laws and regulations behind it have not caught up. The sad part is that there is no meaningful regulations towards child entertainment, even to this day in Hollywood on set, so let alone within a household. We have to stop and ask ourselves, at what point do we make these parents take accountability for how these kids are being treated and what is happening to them? And I'm not talking about the parents, I'm talking about the people who are doing it and the people that are around watching it happen and laughing along. Like, it's really a hard question to ask, but this should we have to. It's time we ask ourselves: should this culture even exist? Time and time again, we see childhood actors grow up and disagree to the fact that they even want people to know that they have kids or be in the limelight themselves. So how can we accept the fact? When will we accept the fact that this is a culture that should be at a halt until we can find a way to make it exist without putting children in harm's way at every turn? I am someone personally who does not think that the child entertainment industry should exist in any form of spotlight. As a mother, I disagree. Put your kids in ballet and show your videos to your family. Put your kids in karate and show the videos to your friends. I do not think that children should be raised for the world to see. And just like with Piper, and just how Ren, Eleanor will surely end up playing out, we have to remember that there will always be more Pipers. There will always be more Wrens. There will always be more child exploitation. And until we stop rewarding it with monetization, paychecks, and fancy lifestyles, it will continue to happen. There has to be a time where we make the change and we decide that we no longer want to make this a profit. So next time you see one of those cute kid videos, ask yourself, is it really worth watching? Because now we are fostering a system and fostering a livelihood that we don't even know if it's right. We don't know what those kids go through when they turn those cameras off. And just like with the Daddy 05 or even the lady, there's so many of them you can come, like I can think of that I can't think of their names because they don't exist to me, because they're vile human beings who treat these kids like commodities and accessories that they pull out when they need a couple of more dollars. It's sad. It truly is. And I just genuinely hope that at some point they find a way to fix these types of problems, because until they do, it will always continue. But that's where I'm going to leave off. I'm not going to continue to rant on this situation because I'm sure that it's just a lot going on for y'all too. My mind is absolutely blown. And I want to say that if you made it this far, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being here and supporting the page. And until we meet again, my daydreamers, make sure you're liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. And if you have any updates, comments, if you have any thoughts on this whole Piper Rockelle situation or the kidfluencer industry as a whole, make sure you leave your comments down in the section. Let me know how you feel about the kidfluencer or the child industry. I do know that I probably have some parents that follow me that actually have kids that are pursuing this line of work, and I do not bash you for it. Personally, that is my opinion. I'm not going to let my child do it, but if you are, that is personally okay. I just want to let you know about the dangers that are out there towards other content creating parents and how they are, because we have to remember that it was 11 kids that are forever traumatized due to the fact that they collabed with Piper Rockelle, not their parents. Be diligent. Watch who your kids are around. Watch, research. Ask questions to people. See before you leave your kid with these people to do content, before we start be like, because we have to remember manipulation is
We
not
talk
something that
about
God
mental health
is.
in a not so hard to
Sometimes it
talk about
creeps
way,
in.
but it should always be taken
Stay
seriously.
safe,
If
my
you or
day
someone you
dreamers.
know is struggling with a mental health crisis, please use the provided resources in order to help them or yourself. There's always someone there, and we are always here to help. You are loved, you are cared about, and someone does care. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I would like to thank you for always choosing you and yourself and for putting healing above all. Until we meet again, my friends, be blessed.